Hey there! Welcome to this week's episode of What's Caking Baby. Let's talk vanilla extract. We all know that the price of vanilla extract has gone up substantially over the past few years, and many cake decorators have taken to making their own vanilla extract. I will often hear of bakeries and home cake decorators purchasing their vanilla extract at restaurant supply stores. And we all know those vanilla extracts that you can purchase in bulk at restaurant supply stores are not full strength and robust vanilla extracts. A full, robust vanilla flavor is very important to me. I just don't like to hear from people when they are tasting a vanilla cake that they just say, well, it tastes like really nothing. Has no particular flavor at all. It's just cake. And for a vanilla cake, that's not a good thing. You really want to bring out that vanilla flavor in a vanilla cake. And I really believe flavor is very important when you're making cakes. Cakes can be pretty as anything, but if it doesn't have the flavor and the texture, then it's just not going to taste well. It's just going to be cake, a pretty cake. So for many years, I used Nielsen Massey Madagascar Bourbon vanilla extract, and that is a amazing commercial extract. It's great. I absolutely love it, and I wouldn't use anything else besides that. And then I discovered making my own vanilla extract. I bought the vanilla bean pods and I experimented with 2 different alcohol types, and when it was aged and ready to use, the final jar, when it was finished, was just amazing. I would use it in cakes and buttercream, and the flavor was incredibly different. So do yourself an advantage. Make your own vanilla extract. The flavor is just, there's just no comparison. There really isn't. Which leads me to this week's episode of What's Caking Baby, in which I'm going to teach you how to make your own vanilla extract. And we're going to make this extract using 2 different alcohols. We're going to use vodka and we're going to use bourbon. And you can get 2 very different flavors out of the 2 different types of alcohol. So let's get started on this week's episode of our show, and let's have fun making your own vanilla extract. Now, before we begin, I'm going to show you some vanilla extract that I made a couple years ago. I started making my own extract about 2 years ago, and this right here is these are finished products. So when I finish with them, I put them in 8-ounce jars, and then I pour what's in there in 8-ounce jars. Then I leave the bean pods in the jars from when I started making them, and then I just add more alcohol to them. And I will also add another couple of bean pods just to give it more flavor. But those bean pods can be used over and over again. Now this is, these are already aged. They actually finished about a year ago, so these are fine. Now, after I poured my ready extract in these small jars, I took the larger jars in which I started out with, and I added more alcohol to them and a couple more extra vanilla beans. And this one I started on July 15th, 2020, and that is probably not quite ready yet. This is the Madagascar Bourbon Vanilla Extract. And what you do is after you make it, you shake it up about once a week. Give it a shake for about 10 seconds. And it helps distribute the beans, the bean pods. And this one I made the same day. It's a vodka-based vanilla extract. And it's made the same day. And normally the vodka one takes about 6 months. So these 2 are still processing, and I just once a week give them a shake, like I said, and then I set them aside again. I don't put them in my pantry because I know I will forget to shake them once a week, so I leave them on my counter so they'll be visible to me. Okay, so for this recipe, all you are going to need are bean pods, and you don't need grade A bean pods. Grade B is perfect for making vanilla extract. And I buy these on Amazon, and this particular one comes in 10 in a pack, and they're airtight packages to keep them fresh. For each bottle that you make, the ratio is 6 to 8. 6 bean pods to 8 ounces of alcohol. So I have 20 bean pods here, so I have more than enough. Now, before we get into opening that, you will need a couple of mason jars. So typically I like to use 12-ounce jars because you can fill it to the 8-ounce line, and you still have room to shake it. So since I don't have 12-ounce jars available right now, I have a two cup jars. And what I'm going to do, I have 20 bean pods here, so I have enough to make about a batch and a half of both. So we're going to do 12 ounces of alcohol to 9 bean pods. So we can we'll add our bean pods in, then we pour the alcohol in. Okay, now we'll talk about the alcohol. I use 2 different alcohols in making my vanilla extract. I make a batch with vodka, and I make a batch with bourbon. Now this is a really good quality bourbon. It's Maker's Mark, made in Kentucky, and it is 90 proof. And this is your typical vodka, and it's 80 proof. Now, as far as the aging time, the vodka-based vanillas, you need to age them about 6 months. And the bourbon-based vanilla extract, you need to age it at least a year. It really does take much longer, and typically that's probably because it is a 90 proof as opposed to an 80 proof. You want to use at least 80 proof alcohol when you're making these vanilla extracts. All right, so why don't we get started? We are going to place 9 bean pods in each one of these. So I'm going to cut open our bean pod bag. All right, so cut down the center. Okay, now I have it cut open. And oh, when you smell these bean pods, they're incredible. They're so delicious. I love vanilla bean pods. Then we're going to cut the other one open. Now, since we are just going to do 9 of each jar, I'm going to have a couple extra, so I'm going to put them in a double Ziploc bag because I want them to stay fresh. I can use them in anything, in making some custard or whatnot. So we will set 2 aside, and then we are going to make sure we have make sure we have 9. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then we'll count these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, so now what I like to do, I like to cut them in half and put them in the jars, but I'm going to open them up first and then cut them in half. Because if I cut them in half first, then they're just going to take longer because there's going to be more there to cut. I'm going to get my scalpel. You can use an X-Acto knife or a scalpel or any knife that's fairly sharp. And you just want to give it a cut down the center. You don't have to completely open it up, but I just like to cut it all the way through down the center. And it cuts it open. Right, so then we're going to cut down the center. You want to get each one, just give it a cut down the center, and this opens it up so those little seeds mix in with the alcohol. That's important. Okay, got those cut open. Okay, we have them all sliced open, and then we're going to cut them in half so they fit in the jar better. Okay, so we have all of our bean pods here. Okay, now we're going to get a measuring cup, and I think I'm going to make this one the bourbon. Okay, so since we use 9 bean pods, we're going to need 12 ounces of bourbon. Now this is a more expensive vanilla extract because Maker's Mark Kentucky bourbon is not cheap. So you don't have to use expensive alcohol. I had this in my shelf, and we've had it for a few years. My husband and I had lived in Kentucky for a short period of time when he was stationed out there in the military. That's where Maker's Mark comes from, Kentucky. So of course we had to visit and learn more about the bourbon. All right, so now we have 12 ounces of bourbon. And these vanilla beans are Madagascar bourbon vanilla beans, which there are many different types of vanilla beans, and the Madagascar ones give you a really robust vanilla flavor. There are several different brands, but I love using the Madagascar bourbon vanilla beans because they're just, the flavor is just incredibly robust and just full. And I just love it. I really love it. All right, now we're going to put our lid on. And we're going to give it a shake. And you want to shake it to make sure that it's not leaking too. And then you immediately want to label it. Now, when you're first making it, you will be able to tell the difference between the bourbon and the vodka one because the vodka one will be much lighter. But as the beans start mixing in with the alcohol, you're not going to be able to tell much of a difference. So you want to label it right away. Okay, so I am putting my label on. Okay, so I put my label on with today's date, and this one's ready to go. Give it a shake once a week, and this will take a good year. So today's February 7th, 2021, and you're going to wait until at least February 7th, 2022 before you try it out. Now, you will be able to tell when they are ready. When you open the jar up, and if it has a very strong alcohol flavor, then it's not ready. All right, so we can put that aside, and we will do the other one. All right, so let's cut these bean pods. We have 9 bean pods here. Okay, so now we're going to cut these guys in half. All right, we could just toss them in the jar. All right, so now we're going to measure out 12 ounces of vodka. All right. Going to pour the vodka into the jar. And there you have it. And you put your lid on. Make sure your lid is nice and tight and on properly. If you don't put it on properly, you're going to have leakage. All right, so then we just shake it up. Now, as you can see, these are the two batches. See, this one's more browner and this one's more clear, but it won't be more clear for too long. So you want your bean pods shaken up. All right, so we have a label on this one. And this one, the vodka based, will be ready in about 6 months. So making your own vanilla extract is really worth it. The only thing is you have to have lots of patience because it's not going to be instant. It's going to take time. You're just going to have to forget about them. Not completely, because you do need to shake them once a week. So either put a note on your calendar, or what I do, I leave them out on my counter in my cake studio, and that reminds me that they need to be shaken. All right, there you have beautiful homemade vanilla extract. Now, what I like to do when they're finished, I have this jar of vodka based. Okay, now I made this back in July, so I'm going to test it. It should be finished. So let's take the lid off. I just had to use a lid gripper because the lid was really tight on there. So yeah, it smells really nice. It smells like vanilla. So this batch is ready. So what I typically do when a batch is ready, I'm just going to close this lid for now. So I have a case of these 6-ounce mason jars, and I will pour in 6 ounces in the jars, label them that they are ready. I put on this one right here that it's vodka based extract done, and this one says bourbon vanilla extract done. So I make sure that I mark it that it's done so it can be used. So then I will pour enough to fill one of these little mason jars, and then I will add more vodka to this, and then I will redate it. I will cross off this date, put on today's date or whichever day that I do that, and I'll usually add maybe another 1 or 2 bean pods in there just to give it some more flavor. And these bean pods that are in there, they can be reused over and over again. I mean, after you reuse them about 5 times, then I would say that they're about done. But you can reuse them and you still have the flavor. And I just had extra bean pods in there just to give it more of a robust flavor. And then you start counting it down again. You cross off this date, you put on the date that you poured the excess out and you poured more alcohol in, and then you start from that date. And then you have a continuous flow of vanilla extract, of homemade vanilla extract that has a robust flavor. It is so much better than the kind you would buy in the store or the kind that you would buy online. I love it. And a good thing about this, if you have some baker friends around the holidays, you can give this as a Christmas gift. Wrap a little ribbon around it, a holiday ribbon, and get special labels from your business and put a special label on top. And you can give these as gifts, or you can sell them. So this is one thing that I don't overpass when making my own cakes. I love using my own homemade vanilla extract. The flavor is incredible. All right, folks, so that is how you make your own homemade vanilla extract. Okay, so now you know how to make your own vanilla extract. It's so easy, and the steps are so simple, and you need very little ingredients and very little supplies. And I know to age this vanilla extract, it takes a lot of patience and time. You have to wait 6 months to a year for it to be ready. But when it's ready, then you will have yourself a gold mine of delicious flavor. When your extract is ready, I encourage you to try an experiment. Make 2 different cakes. Make a cake using a vanilla extract that you purchase typically in the store or online, and then make another cake with your homemade vanilla extract. And try a piece of each of those. And I'll tell you, you will definitely be able to tell the difference immediately. And before we go, in the comments section of this episode, I have a downloadable recipe that you can download and keep with you for how to make this beautiful vanilla extract. All right, everyone, have a great week, and I will see you next week.